with the recent investigations made by Fernando Astete and Professors Shukowski and Skosiuk, that now we know for sure that this is a precise astronomical instrument.
Ever wondered how a network of conduits still works perfectly after more than 500 years? Well, this exists in Ollantaytambo, and its hidden water system secret has now been exposed. The impressive engineering of this structure comes alive when it rains. When the rain comes, something strange happens. The water moves, guided through narrow channels carved into 50-ton andesite blocks with astonishing precision, then vanishes into the walls themselves, flowing through a hidden network of conduits that still works perfectly after more than 500 years. So, what exactly is the hydraulic trick that makes this possible? Join us in this video to find out. They built the impossible, the Incan engineering brilliance. January 1537. Hernando Pizarro and his conquistadors march toward Ollantaytambo, confident after conquering Cusco. They've faced Incan armies before. Stone fortresses don't scare men armed with steel and horses. Then the water attacks begin, and the Inca defenders are doing far more than throwing spears from the terraces. They flood the valley floor by opening channels that divert the Patacancha River. In seconds, dry ground turns to swamp. Spanish horses sink up to their flanks in sudden marshland. Cavalry charges become useless. Speed is gone. Momentum is gone. But this is what truly stops the conquistadors cold. The terraces themselves aren't flooding. The water is moving through them, circulating, draining, reinforcing. The structures grow stronger under pressure, not weaker. What was meant to overwhelm instead becomes control. The Spanish retreat. It's one of the very few withdrawals they make during the entire conquest of South America. Historians credit this to Incan defensive brilliance, and they're right. But it leaves behind a far more uncomfortable question. How did a civilization labeled primitive design a water control system so advanced it could be weaponized in real time against European invaders? That's where this story truly begins. Climb to the summit of Ollantaytambo, to the Temple of the Sun. There, you face 6 towering slabs of red granite. Each stands about 13 feet tall. Each weighs roughly 50 tons. These aren't blocks stacked loosely atop one another. They stand upright, locked together with joints so precise you can't slide a credit card between them. And this isn't poetic exaggeration. In 2014, an engineering team from Boston University brought measuring tools to the site. What they found was staggering. Across the entire height of these massive stones, the joints vary by less than 1 millimeter. That level of precision today requires lasers, diamond-tipped saws, and computer-controlled cutting machines. Even with 21st century technology, high-end construction firms struggle to maintain tolerances this tight. Now comes the part where it gets truly strange. These stones aren't just fitted together, they're engineered together. Carved into them are water channels, tiny grooves, some no wider than a finger, running seamlessly from one 50-ton block to the next. A continuous hydraulic system, flowing through stones that weigh as much as a fully loaded semi-truck. And it works. But how? How did they come up with such engineering ingenuity? Keep watching to find out. The structure of Ollantaytambo's water system. In 2019, Dr. Alexei Vranich, an archaeologist and specialist in ancient engineering, examined these channels up close. His conclusion was unsettling. The level of pre-planning required to create continuous water channels across individually placed megalithic stones points to a sophistication in hydraulic engineering that challenges nearly everything we assume about Inca capabilities. Put simply, the water system came first. The stones were cut to fit the water, not the other way around. That isn't how primitive societies build. It's barely how modern ones do. Now consider the stones themselves. The 6 red granite monoliths at the Temple of the Sun didn't come from nearby. They were quarried from a mountain on the opposite side of the Urubamba River, about 6 miles away and roughly 1,000 feet higher in elevation. To get them to Ollantaytambo, the builders would have had to cut massive blocks from solid bedrock, move them down a mountainside, cross a wide river with no bridge, haul them up another mountain, and then set them in place with millimeter-level precision while aligning pre-designed water channels. All of this, according to conventional history, was done without wheels. Without draft animals, llamas can't pull multi-ton loads. Without iron tools, without cranes. The standard explanation is simple: large teams of workers using ropes, wooden rollers, and earthen ramps. But in 2017, researchers from the University of Illinois tried to test that theory. Using those exact methods, 200 people attempted to move a 10-ton stone, just 20% of the weight of Ollantaytambo's smallest megalith. It took them 6 hours to move it only 100 feet on flat ground. They abandoned the experiment before even attempting an incline. Now scale that up. 6 miles of rugged mountain terrain, 50-ton stones, 1 millimeter tolerances, pre-carved hydraulic channels. Something doesn't add up, and whatever's missing from this equation may change how we understand the past. But there's something that makes Ollantaytambo truly bizarre. Something about the structural accuracy of the water. What was that? Was it engineering or luck? Keep watching to find out. The original structure were far more sophisticated. In 2003, hydrologist Dr. Kenneth Wright studied the site's drainage and uncovered something that shouldn't exist in so-called primitive engineering. The entire complex rests on a sophisticated subsurface drainage network designed to control groundwater pressure beneath the massive foundation stones. Water doesn't simply run off the surface. It moves through the walls, through the terraces, and beneath the foundations, forming a hydraulic system that actively reduces earthquake stress on the structures. Pause and think about that. It's not even possible. Wait, is it possible that someone understood subsurface water pressure? Did someone understand how saturated soil behaves during seismic events? Someone engineered a solution that modern earthquake-resistant construction still relies on today? Drainage systems that prevent soil liquefaction? Systems that reduce stress on foundations during tremors? From the analysis, the Inca had no seismology, no formal soil mechanics. According to conventional archaeology, not even written mathematics. And yet, Ollantaytambo has survived major earthquakes, including the catastrophic 1650 Cusco quake that leveled Spanish colonial buildings. Churches collapsed, walls crumbled. The Incan structures remained standing. The water kept flowing, exactly as designed. Then, in 2014, ground-penetrating radar revealed something even more unsettling beneath Ollantaytambo's main plaza. An older structure, not just older, but built using a fundamentally different construction technique. The scans showed massive megalithic foundations beneath the visible Incan walls. These lower foundations use stones even larger than those above ground. They include water channels that feed into the visible system, yet appear to predate it. Dr. John Peter de Jong, a Dutch researcher who spent 5 years mapping Ollantaytambo's construction phases, noticed a troubling pattern. The deeper you go, the more advanced the engineering becomes. Lower megalithic walls show tighter joints.
Looks like maybe original from the Inca times, I don't know.
Yeah, we were just discussing and wondering if the base was actually from the Incas.
More complex water integration.
Egypt being the classic example of that, simply label everything as being of the predominant culture.
More sophisticated stone-shaping techniques. This leaves archaeologists questioning why the oldest work appears to be the most advanced. The upper additions, the parts clearly built by the historical Inca, are cruder, still remarkable by any standard, but measurably less precise. It's backward. Technology is supposed to improve over time, not decline. Civilizations are expected to get better at engineering, not worse. Unless the Inca didn't build Ollantaytambo from scratch. Unless they inherited it. Unless they discovered an existing site, occupied it, expanded it, but never created the core megalithic structures or the primary hydraulic systems. Could this be true? How did the Incas even come about this megastructure? Let's see. Ollantaytambo's water system, secret exposed. In 1572, Spanish chronicler Pedro Sarmiento de Gamboa recorded Incan oral traditions claiming that Ollantaytambo was built by an earlier people, long before the rise of the Inca. Officially, the Inca dismissed this and took credit for the site, as empires often do. But what if the oral tradition was telling the truth? Across the valley, at the mountain quarry, lie stones that were never finished. Massive blocks, partially carved, abandoned mid-process. And here's the strange part. These aren't rough stones waiting to be shaped. They are precision-cut blocks with complex angles, some already showing the early stages of integrated water channels, left behind as if work stopped suddenly. One block in particular, known locally as the pregnant stone, weighs an estimated 250 tons. It shows clear evidence of advanced fracturing techniques. Small holes were drilled in precise geometric patterns, likely to split the rock along controlled planes. That pattern suggests an understanding of crystal structures in stone, of stress propagation, of the methods modern quarry engineers still use today. There's no historical record explaining why the stones were abandoned. The Inca never wrote about it. The Spanish didn't document it. By the time they arrived, the quarry had already been inactive for an unknown length of time. No clear explanation survives. But those unfinished stones preserve something invaluable. They capture the construction process itself, and what they reveal doesn't align with what we believe the Inca were capable of doing. Between each massive stone sit smaller blocks, spacers essentially, made from entirely different rock, different color, different composition. Even the tool marks don't match. They look like afterthoughts. Crude patches holding together something far more sophisticated. And they are different. In 2008, archaeologist Dr. David Drew examined these connector stones and found something troubling. The small blocks show clear evidence of iron tool marks. The massive megaliths do not. They show only bronze tool marks. Here's the problem. The Inca didn't have iron. Iron arrived in South America with the Spanish after 1532, which means the small connector stones were added later, after European contact, while the enormous megaliths predate iron tools entirely. In other words, the Temple of the Sun wasn't originally built by those later hands. It was repaired, modified, possibly completed by people using the best technology available to them, trying to finish or stabilize something they didn't fully understand. That creates a serious problem. A timeline problem archaeology doesn't have a clean answer for, and the questions only deepen. In 2021, a team from MIT used three-dimensional laser scanning to analyze hydraulic flow rates throughout Ollantaytambo's channel systems. What they found was extraordinary. The channels were built with consistent gradient ratios across the entire complex. Primary channels maintain a 2% grade. Drainage channels, 4%. Irrigation channels, just 0.5%. These ratios are preserved across hundreds of meters of stonework, through walls, beneath terraces, and around corners. You cannot eyeball a 0.5% slope across 300 meters of carved stone. That level of consistency requires calculation, planning, measurement tools. Modern civil engineers rely on laser levels and computer modeling to achieve it. So, how did the builders of Ollantaytambo do this? And with what methods? Were they entirely accurate in their architecture? Keep watching to find out. The Ollantaytambo's water system is too perfect to be human invention. At Ollantaytambo, the channels work perfectly from the start, as if whoever designed them already knew the outcome. This system doesn't just move water, it manages it with intention. Primary channels carry fresh water from mountain springs into residential areas. Secondary channels irrigate the agricultural terraces with carefully controlled flow rates. Tertiary channels drain excess water and prevent erosion. Beneath all of it lies a hidden network regulating groundwater pressure. What you're looking at is integrated urban planning, water supply, agriculture, drainage, and structural engineering functioning as a single unified system. The Romans are rightly famous for their aqueducts. Roman water engineering was sophisticated and revolutionary for Europe. But Roman aqueducts were, at their core, transportation systems. They moved water from point A to point B. They did not typically integrate hydraulics into the structural foundations of buildings. They did not design multi-layer systems that supplied water, irrigated crops, drained excess flow, and reduced earthquake stress at the same time. Ollantaytambo did all of that, high in the Andes, supposedly without the accumulated engineering knowledge Rome developed over centuries of Mediterranean civilization. In 2018, the American Society of Civil Engineers sent a delegation to Ollantaytambo. Their findings, published in the Journal of Performance of Constructed Facilities, included a passage that drew serious attention. It stated that the site's integrated hydraulic and structural systems demonstrate an understanding of soil mechanics, hydrology, and seismic engineering that would be remarkable for any pre-industrial civilization. Several features, especially the sub-foundation drainage network and its coordination with megalithic construction, would challenge modern engineering firms if attempted today without contemporary computational tools. Read between the lines, and the message becomes clear. They're saying this would be extremely difficult to build today, without computers. Not impossible, perhaps, but not easily. In 2015, Christopher Dunn, a precision engineer with 4 decades of experience in aerospace manufacturing, visited the site. His assessment of the stonework was blunt and technical. "These tolerances," he said, "are what we aim for in aerospace components. Achieving them in 50-ton granite blocks, without diamond tooling and without precision measuring instruments, stretches credibility." He wasn't claiming aliens built it. He wasn't invoking lost technology myths. He was saying something simpler and more unsettling. Something is missing from our understanding of ancient capabilities. Among engineers and alternative researchers, a different idea has been gaining traction. Not ancient astronauts, not science fiction, but something almost as controversial. A highly sophisticated pre-Incan civilization, one with advanced hydraulic and stone engineering knowledge that the Inca later inherited but could not fully reproduce. The evidence keeps piling up. Megalithic foundations beneath Incan structures that show superior engineering. Water systems integrated into the very core of construction, not added later. A clear decline in precision in the upper, later additions. Oral traditions describing builders who came before the Inca. Advanced work was abandoned suddenly, mid-process, and no visible learning curve in hydraulic engineering at all. Mainstream archaeology resists this idea for a simple reason. It would require rewriting timelines. The Inca Empire is traditionally dated from 1438 to 1533 CE. If the core of Ollantaytambo is older, then who built it? We have no written records of an earlier Andean civilization with this level of engineering skill. But the absence of written records does not mean the absence of a civilization. So, who are the original owners of the Inca Empire? Is the explanation for the magnificence and engineering masterpiece in the Inca something supernatural? Let's see. We might need something deeper than archaeology. Gobekli Tepe in Turkey proved that the absence of written records does not mean the absence of a civilization. An 11,500-year-old temple complex built by people we didn't even know existed until 1994. Perhaps Ollantaytambo is Peru's Gobekli Tepe, a remnant of lost engineering knowledge, a legacy preserved in stone, a system so well designed that its walls still live, flex and breathe with flowing water, centuries after the builders themselves vanished. And maybe the real mystery isn't how ancient people built something so advanced. It's why we're still reluctant to believe they could. Stand at Ollantaytambo during the rainy season and watch what happens. Water cascades down the terraces, but the walls don't erode. The foundations don't saturate. The massive stones don't budge. Instead, the water flows exactly as it was designed to, through carved channels, around corners, under foundations, and emerging from drainage ports etched into 50-ton blocks with millimeter precision. After 500 years, after earthquakes, after Spanish modifications and modern tourism infrastructure, the system still works perfectly. No maintenance, no pumps, no modern intervention, just gravity, geometry, and a deep understanding of hydraulic principles, existing in the Andes long before Europeans brought the scientific method to South America. The stones seem to breathe with the water, expanding and contracting microscopically with each rainfall.
Here we got mythology, and here we have scientific evidence that Earth was blasted.
Their joints are engineered to accommodate this movement while maintaining structural integrity. This is not just engineering. It is the integration of living stone and flowing water into a single, coherent system. It is not primitive. Think about the level of planning that is required. You cannot change your mind halfway through. You cannot adjust the design once the stone is carved. Once a 50-ton block has channels etched into it and has been transported across a valley, there is no going back. Every calculation had to be exact from the start. Modern architects use building information modeling, computer software that lets you design every detail before construction begins, test systems, resolve conflicts, and ensure everything integrates perfectly. The builders of Ollantaytambo achieved the same result without computers, without blueprints, without any written plans, as far as we know, which raises an uncomfortable question. How much human knowledge have we lost? Not alien knowledge, not mystical wisdom, simply human expertise, sophisticated, practical, and effective, so precise that it created structures that outlasted the civilizations that built them. Maybe the Inca were greater engineers than we give them credit for. Maybe they had tools and techniques we have yet to uncover. Maybe conventional archaeology will one day reconcile the historical record with the engineering evidence. Or maybe Ollantaytambo is a relic of something older, something we have no records of, something that understands water and stone in ways we are only beginning to rediscover through lasers, computers, and ground-penetrating radar. The fortress stands. The water flows. The stones remain fitted tighter than a hair's width, breathing with the rain, flexing imperceptibly with every seismic tremor. They manage hydraulic pressure through channels carved with mathematical precision into blocks heavier than a school bus. 5 centuries after the Spanish conquest, 5 centuries of rain, earthquakes, human traffic, and still, the system works exactly as it was designed. So, what do the Inca people think about these mega stone carvings? Can we find clues by investigating the Inca? Keep watching to find out. The 500-year-old Inca Empire. The Inca Empire, officially called the Realm of the Four Parts, was the largest empire in pre-Columbian America. Its heart, the administrative, political, and military center, was the city of Cusco. The Inca civilization began in the Peruvian highlands in the early 13th century. The first European to encounter it was Portuguese explorer Aleixo Garcia in 1524. Less than a decade later, in 1532, the Spanish began their conquest, and by 1572, the last Inca stronghold had fallen. Between 1438 and 1533, the Incas expanded across a huge area of western South America, using both conquest and peaceful assimilation. When it peaked, the empire stretched from modern-day Peru into parts of Ecuador, Bolivia, Argentina, Colombia, and Chile, forming a state rivaling the great empires of Eurasia. Quechua was the official language. What made the Inca Empire remarkable was what it achieved without many tools and technologies considered essential elsewhere. According to anthropologist Gordon McEwen, the Incas built one of the greatest imperial states in human history without the wheel, draft animals, iron or steel, or even a system of writing. The Incas excelled in many areas. They built impressive stone structures, developed an extensive road system connecting every corner of the empire, wove beautiful textiles, and used knotted strings for record-keeping and communication. They also mastered agriculture in challenging environments and created an organized system to manage people and labor on a massive scale. Its heart, the administrative, political, and military center, was the city of Cusco. The Inca civilization began in the Peruvian highlands in the early 13th century. Today, the term Inca in Quechua is often translated as ruler or lord, but it didn't only refer to the Sapa Inca, the emperor of Tawantinsuyu. It also applied to Inca nobles, and some scholars believe its meaning may have been even broader. These nobles were a tiny fraction of the population, probably only 15,000 to 40,000 people. Yet they ruled over a population of around 10 million. When the Spanish arrived, they called the land Peru, although the locals knew it as Tawantinsuyu,
where a rectangular spout directs a measured jet into a stone basin.
The name Inca Empire comes from 16th century chronicles written after the conquest. The Inca people themselves started as a pastoral tribe near Cusco around the 12th century. Andean oral history preserves two main origin legends, one of Manco Capac and Mama Oclo, and the other of the Ayar brothers. At Tambo Toco, the central cave was called Capac Toco, while the side caves were Maras Toco and Sutik Toco. From the central cave, 4 brothers and 4 sisters emerged: Ayar Manco, Ayar Kachi, Ayar Auca, Ayar Uchu, Mama Oclo, Mama Rawa, Mama Huaco, and Mama Coea. From the side caves came the ancestors of all the other Inca clans. Ayar Manco carried a magical staff made of gold. Wherever it sank into the earth, that would be their home. The group traveled for a long time. Along the way, Ayar Kachi boasted endlessly about his strength. His siblings, wanting to get rid of him, tricked him into entering a cave to fetch a sacred llama and trapped him inside. What became of the rest people? And how did they build an empire that still sends a chill down the spine of modern civilization? Keep watching to find out. How the Inca Empire grew. According to the myths, Ayar Uchu decided to stay atop the cave to watch over the Inca people. The moment he declared this, he turned to stone. A shrine was built around the stone, making it a sacred object. Ayar Auca, growing weary of the journey, left to travel alone, leaving only Ayar Manco and his 4 sisters. Eventually, they reached Cusco. Ayar Manco's staff sank into the ground, marking their new home. By then, Mama Oclo had already borne Ayar Manco a son, Sinchi Roca. The people already living in Cusco fought fiercely to defend their land. But Mama Huaco proved to be a formidable warrior. When an enemy soldier attacked, she threw her bolas, stones tied together that spin through the air, and killed him instantly. Terrified, the rest fled, leaving the land to the newcomers. After the conquest of Cusco, Ayar Manco became known as Manco Capac, the legendary founder of the Inca Empire. He and his sisters are said to have built the first Inca homes in the valley with their own hands. When his time came, Manco Capac turned to stone, like his brothers before him, and his son, Sinchi Roca, succeeded him as the second emperor. The story comes from Inca Garcilaso de la Vega, a mestizo chronicler, in his work Los Comentarios Reales de los Incas. According to his account, Manco Capac and Mama Oclo were sent by the sun god and emerged from the depths of Lake Titicaca, a sacred origin place. They carried a golden staff from the sun god, which would guide them. Wherever the staff sank, they were to build a city and settle. The staff sank at Mount Guanacaure in the Acamama Valley, so the couple stayed there. They announced to the local inhabitants that they had been sent by the sun god and taught them agriculture and weaving. From this, the Inca civilization began. By the early 12,000, under Manco Capac's leadership,
There are very few places which showcase such amazing views, right?
the Inca had formed the small city-state known as the Kingdom of Cusco. There, Manco Capac built a temple dedicated to the sun god, called Inticancha, at the site now known as Coricancha. Over time, successive Inca rulers expanded their influence beyond Cusco and into the Sacred Valley, using a mix of battles, strategic marriages, and alliances to grow their empire. Pachacuti, one of the greatest Inca rulers, named his favorite son, Amaru Yupanqui, as his co-ruler and heir. However, Amaru showed little interest in military matters, which was a serious problem in an empire that relied heavily on conquest and defense. His lack of skill led to growing opposition from the Inca nobility, who began plotting against him. Despite these concerns, Pachacuti initially turned a blind eye to his son's shortcomings. But after a revolt, in which Amaru nearly led Inca forces to defeat, Pachacuti decided to replace him with another son, Topa Inca Yupanqui. Topa Inca Yupanqui began his northern conquests in 1463 and continued expanding the empire after Pachacuti died in 1471. His most significant victory was over the Kingdom of Timor, the Inca's only serious coastal rival. Under the Topa Inca, the empire stretched north into present-day Ecuador and Colombia. His son, Huayna Capac, added a small northern extension in modern-day Ecuador. According to traditional history, the southward expansion halted after the Battle of the Maule, where Inca forces met determined resistance from the Mapuche. Administratively, what was Inca like? How did they maintain their civilization outside wars and conquests? Let's see. The Inca Empire's administrative prowess and culture. The Inca Empire was a diverse and complex state, an amalgamation of languages, cultures, and peoples. Not all regions were fully loyal, nor were the local cultures completely integrated. The empire's economy relied on exchange and taxation, particularly of luxury goods and labor. In some provinces, when locals claimed they could not pay their tribute, the Inca would order that every inhabitant hand over a large quill full of live lice every 4 months. This might sound strange, but it was a way for the Inca to teach and accustom the people to fulfilling their tribute obligations. Architecture was the most important of the Inca arts, and even their textiles echoed architectural patterns. The most famous example of Inca engineering is Machu Picchu, a masterpiece built by skilled Inca engineers. Their finest structures were made from massive stone blocks, cut so precisely that not even a knife blade could slide between them. Remarkably, these buildings have stood for centuries without mortar, relying solely on perfect craftsmanship for their strength. This stone-fitting technique did not originate with the Incas. It was first used on a large scale by the Pucara people near Lake Titicaca, and later refined in the city of Tiwanaku in what is now Bolivia. Stones were shaped by repeatedly lowering one rock onto another and carefully carving away the areas where pressure marks appeared. The result was an exceptionally tight fit, often with slightly concave lower stones, which made the structures extremely stable.
And this is an intriguing feature that I believe the Inca found.
This design helped Inca buildings withstand earthquakes and volcanic activity, challenges that continue to affect the region to this day. The Inca system of measurement was based on the human body. Common units included fingers, the distance between the thumb and forefinger, palms, cubits, and wingspans. The most basic unit of distance was the thatki, which measured 1 pace. A larger unit was the topo or tupu, described by Kobo as equal to 6,000 thatki, or about 7.7 kilometers. However, modern studies suggest the actual distance likely ranged between 4.0 and 6.3 kilometers. Beyond that was the Wamani, made up of 30 topos, roughly 232 kilometers. For measuring land area, the Incas used units based on wingspans, typically calculating plots of 25 by 50 wingspans, with the total area reckoned in topos about 3,280 square kilometers. It also appears that distance was often understood in terms of time rather than exact length. Many measurements reflected a day's walk, which explains why the spacing between Tambo way stations varied greatly in physical distance but remained fairly consistent in the time it took to travel between them. What do you think about the revealed truth about the supposed Inca-owned Ollantaytambo's water system? Do you think there's something deeper at play here? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you learned interesting facts about the Ollantaytambo's water system and its true owners. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on more wonderful discoveries. See you there.